Level Up Latina partners with working women and mamas alike to guide them in achieving fulfilling career and life goals through financial empowerment, professional or leadership coaching, and personal wellness. Find the unique coaching you need to succeed.
You're listening to Vero, Ceci, and Irene, and we are Level Up Latina.
Welcome to another episode of the Level Up Latina podcast. This is episode 277, and we are recording on the second day of February. Before we get started, I just want to say that today's episode is going to be checking in with each other, checking in on our comunidad, and we want to provide some resources following, what's been happening around our country with different ICE raids, and we have a new administration in place. But before we get there, because I know this conversation may be heavy, let's check in with each other. ¿Cómo están? I feel like January, oh my God, qué de cosas pasaron en enero. I mean, the longest month of the year. Parece como que ya pasamos todo, como medio mes to me. Like, it sounds like we just went through like 6 months. ¿Cómo andan ustedes?
Igual. I better get to check in with you girls. Every year's the same, you guys. January is like 3 years long, and then the year starts, right? So the year technically is 4 years. But yeah, it's good. Good to see you all. Estamos otra vez juntitas y coleando. And excited to have this conversation that's a very much needed conversation. A conversation that's happening within our community. So it's good to stay on top of it, also knowing that it affects every single one of us. So
Feeling it. I'm glad to be here too, juntas. For listeners who check this episode out later in life, this is January 2025, and we're hopeful that when you listen, if you listen out of order, if you listen later in the year, that things are on the up and up, and that everything we discussed today that feels somber is hopefully no longer somber. So that's the positive note for the day. Hopefully this ages really well, and we're not like in a year being like, oh my God, it's gotten worse. That's not what we want.
No, definitely. La cosa es, mantener la calma, right? Let's keep calm. Even with that, with the eyes, like, ¿cómo andan ustedes right now with, like, January was also, like, a lot of fires in Southern California. Like, ¿cómo está eso ahorita?
It feels like the fires were a long time ago, right? Pero it's like,
yeah,
they were not a long time ago. But yeah, things I think are settling down, 100% contained, both Palisades and Eaton fires. Vero and I don't live like at the epicenter, thank goodness. I think the worst we got of it was just the tragedy and knowing someone and the air quality and just the climate in SoCal. Hella scary. But things are like improving, just the aftermath of places being. Have you seen it, Vero? Have you driven by chance to any of these
No,
areas?
I haven't gone by. It's kind of also like, in a sense, respecting people's their landscape, their environment. I'm obviously consistently listening to the news. Now that I get a drive to work, I get a short snippet of like listening to what's happening. I get my updates on the fires with the app that that everyone kind of downloaded after that emergency evacuation notice that went out to all of LA County instead of just to the people that were being affected. No, I feel like it's just out of respect for those people. Like, I can't even imagine like losing everything like that, right? And the heaviness, the grief that comes with like your lifetime memories for people that had lived there for decades, right, and generations. I can't even imagine driving by it.
I know. I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking it'll probably just naturally happen one day, and we'll be, I don't know, driving down the coast in Malibu and like see it. Because I was thinking the same, Vero. Like, it's not something you want to go be a looky-loo about. The only updates I feel like I'm getting is I gave to so many random GoFundMes. Started at the top, and before you know it, it was like $5 here, $5 there, because I was giving to so many people. It was so compelling. I just mailed something the other day. Some random family had a like wish list, and I was like, yes, they are asking for things on Amazon. I'm gonna mix it up and send them stuff. But that's how you get updates, because I guess when you give to GoFundMe, then they come and give updates. So it is kind of nice to hear from the people that you're donating to when they update their GoFundMe and say, thank you, this is where we are, this is what we're doing. I have a colleague that lives in Altadena that I've worked with for years through a network that we're a part of. And she had just gotten married and her house burned down. And it's like all of us were like devastated for her. So I know they're starting over. And her recent update was like, thank you to our community. Like, we don't have anything. We moved into this place. Our rent is 3 times as much, but we have a place. And I'm like, oh my God, pobrecita, right? 3 times as much. But now because of all these donations, they're able to sort of rebuild and how I imagine things for their home. But that's how I'm getting my updates, trying to stay away from scary news, but more so from people who are rebuilding, that we've donated to, that update their GoFundMe or their Facebook or whatever, like, and tell you what's going on with them.
Yo también, I've seen less of it, obviously now, but it was, we knew people that lost their homes. I mean, we know people that lost their homes, so that was very, very scary to watch. Qué bueno que se están calmando las cosas, and like, the saying goes, like, todo cae, lo material, pero las memorias, like the memories that you lose, like I could see how devastating que de la noche a la mañana they perdieron todo. But okay, so yeah, again, perhaps this topic may be a little somber, so, take care of yourself, listen to today's episode, pero también know that things are changing, and what we say today may not, be, in place, like, como dijo Irene, like, in a year or perhaps month, even like in a few weeks, because things are changing so much. So, with this in mind, with what we're hearing with the ICE raids that are going on, I know that we as Latinos, as Mexicanas, nosotras, we perhaps have families that have different statuses, immigration statuses. So these raids have made a big impact in our communities, and they're causing fear, uncertainty. So today, we want to provide these resources and tips. And, I want to put it out there, I'm not an immigration expert and I'm not an immigration attorney, but the resources that I've come across are, through my organization and through other like nonprofits that have put together like a plan. So, I want to discuss that. And again, don't take this as legal advice. Each case will be different. If you have a situation, go speak to an immigration attorney so that they can do like a full analysis of your case. So again, esto no, and I guess I'll say it in Spanish, pero esto no lo tomen como algo legal específicamente. Si tienen ustedes un caso específico, consulten con un abogado de migración, porque cada caso es diferente. Entonces, lo que hablamos ahora no más son como ¿cómo se dice? Tips, como
sugerencias, recomendaciones,
ajá, cómo prepararse y cómo están, pues, tener un plan, right, en casa. So again, we want folks to stay calm and just take part of this podcast to listen and maybe spread the word out. So again, I want to share some of the things that I've come across. One of the most important things, and I don't know if you guys have seen or heard about this in Southern California, but it's most importantly to have a plan, especially our families that are, of different immigration statuses, is to have a plan. And one that I came across is, it's like a whole pamphlet, that has like a step-by-step family preparedness plan, and it's put on by the ILRC, the Immigrant Legal Resource Center. We'll put the websites and stuff like that on our podcast caption, and I guess our podcast caption. But they did a great job in putting together a family preparedness plan. So especially for folks that have minor children, perhaps, that are U.S. residents or U.S. citizens, one of the first steps is to make a child care plan and designate someone that would be essentially the guardian for your child. So it talks about that. It talks about like knowing your rights. All of us in this country, whether you are a citizen or an immigrant, we all have rights, right? That the Constitution gives us. So know your rights. Make sure your family members are aware of your rights and how to act in case you're stopped by ICE or ICE comes to your home. So again, this pamphlet has like a toolkit essentially that goes over everything, from making a child care plan to actually creating like a legit California document as to how to have a caregiver for your child if you become detained or deported. It also talks about like making something more formal and like, through the court, a guardian. Let's see. It talks about the importance of having a power of attorney. A power of attorney shouldn't be used for like a guardianship. That's separate. A power of attorney is a power that you give to someone else so that they could act in your place if you're not, able to act. Like they could, with a power of attorney, they can go into the bank in your name, withdraw money in your name. Of course, it has to be someone that you're, that you have absolutely trust in. Let's see. Also, to have emergency contacts written down for, your agent or the person that you designate as your power of attorney or the guardian or the caregiver for your child. This also talks about like where to find trusted legal services in your areas. There's a website here with a link that you can, search it with your areas and understand like who, like I said at the beginning, like who can you trust to give immigration advice. Definitely like an immigration attorney. And like I said at the beginning, every case is different. So, be mindful of that. ¿Qué más? Okay. And it talks about like what to do, if ICE were to show up at your door. We've been sharing a lot of posts about like, they can't come into your home unless there's a warrant signed by a judge. So make sure that you look for that. You have a right to remain silent. There's also these like red cards. I don't know if you've seen them, ladies, but some red cards that you can carry in your pocket. And it, talks about like your rights. Like, no abra la puerta si un agente de migración está tocando la puerta. So don't open your door. Don't answer any questions. You have the right to remain silent and to not answer any questions unless an attorney is present. And, I've seen a lot of cartoons online that simulate like when ICE arrives at your home, and folks can show this through the window. Again, this link or this website has how to order these cards. They're the red card, and I guess I'll read it out, but we'll provide it too. The website to find these cards is ilrc.org /red /cards. Again, we'll provide this on our post.
Yeah, a lot of those cards are also being distributed. For example, my two little ones, how they started a new little school, and then Maura's doing daycare. Fidel is still in preschool. They automatically have them available. All of LAUSD, for example, and I'm sure other school districts probably have the same because it's affecting their students. They have them available. So like, for example, the ILRC, you said, might have that on their website directly, but a lot of the different organizations will put them on there. Like, for example, LAUSD printed them out on their own to give them for free to their students or to the family members of their students. But then so many people are requesting them that now they're like, we can't just continue to print for free. Like if you guys want to order for your nonprofits or order for the people, you have to kind of pay them and go directly there. But it also has access to print them on your own. So you have like a step-by-step process on what to do, because it's scary. Like having something like that, Ceci, like available is so crucial in moments of panic, right? Where you're like, ¿qué voy a hacer? Pero tengo que abrir la puerta. These people look legitimate. And having that with you will be very helpful to at least take a breath and then be able to look at this little card. And the good thing is that you can also print them in different languages. Right now, the one you have is Spanish and English, but they have them in like Haitian Creole. They have them in Portuguese. They have them in Russian, Latino and Tagalog. So different languages so that you can print to whatever, you might need. Or if you know someone, you can print it out for them in that language too. But at least to give them a little bit of a direction in those moments of panic or feeling like they don't know what to do, they can just pull that out and read it and be like, okay, I can confidently at least do this. So, I mean, it seems like something so small, but it's so helpful in those moments.
Porque la gente no sabe. So yeah, like you said, they're definitely available. You can print them yourself. And, if you're perhaps work for an organization and you can order some, like maybe Irene también, at your organization to order some for your employees, and just to have them like to take. I brought some with me home just to have and like to pass them out if family requests them or needs them, but just to have them, like it's a good thing to have. So that's the Immigrant Legal Resource Center, ILRC, LRC, the initials, and so they have this family preparedness packet. Another great website is called Informed Immigrant, informedimmigrant.com, or the National Immigration Law Center, NILC.org, or Immigrants Rising, so immigrantsrising.org. So these are four of like great resources to check out, find out more. And I'm assuming a lot of these organizations are creating like their own family plan. This is just one that I had available at work, and me lo traje conmigo. So the other thing that I saw in here was that within the family preparedness plaque, it has a caregiver's authorization affidavit that you can fill out, and then give it to the person that you would designate as your caregiver for your minor child, and it has a section for you to list down like emergency contact numbers, any, like the child's date of birth, anything that they're affiliated with, like the, or medical conditions, medications for the child, allergies, their doctor's phone number, school activities, after school activities, like para que pongan todo. And so if, Dios no lo quiera, God forbid, but if this is needed, the person that you designated as the caregiver for your child will have this with them. So that's one thing that I wanted to share. And along the same lines, and I'll share this as well, is we have the red card for individuals to carry, but also what they're calling the blue card. This is for employers, like what to do if ICE were to show up at your job. The do's and the don'ts, like yes, remain calm, identify that they are ICE agents in fact, close and lock your laptop, make sure that they don't have access to any of that. Like you don't want to put folks at risk, like their names, ask for a warrant, ask for them to slide it under the door, like don't open the door. Things you can say is like, I'm not authorized to speak to you. I need to contact our attorney. I do not want to answer your questions, and I do not consent to your entry. And of course, ask for the warrant, ask to see it, and make sure that, you're protected, and you're putting this, perhaps this is something that you can print out and put, like, I don't know, in your office. So I don't know. Have you guys, I guess because of my employer being a nonprofit, focusing on Latinos, and we've been having these discussions as of late, and being proactive and staying prepared. But have you guys had anything like that with your employers? See,
it's interesting that you brought up Immigrants Rising, because I wanted to clarify, like, they're a really great organization for kids that are thinking about college and paying for college and going to college. Like, there's all these little nuances to where you stand in this undocumented mixed status bubble. We had just put on, maybe about a month ago, or maybe it was a little bit more than a month ago, I had just hosted a workshop with Immigrants Rising. We had over 1,000 people attend our workshop. And a couple of different organizations were there to really put at ease folks that are helping kids go to college. Because we find that at times like this, since I serve mostly first generation college going students, low income, that they tend to sort of retreat. They're a little bit afraid. They don't want to necessarily apply, try to get aid. All these different things really create this sense of like fear and going into the shadows. And so we want to do the opposite. So in my work, Ceci, it's almost like, what are all the resources for kids and families that are thinking about paying for college? Like one little nuance in this whole world. Again, it's just one little piece, because some people are afraid to go to work. Like that's very different. Like the last thing they want to do is like have their kid enroll at a university. But Immigrants Rising, the one you mentioned, is a wonderful organization that helps put those fears at ease. And they really know the laws really well. Again, they're not staffed by lawyers that are giving legal advice, but at the same time, they are founded by people that have legal backgrounds. It's like an interesting, almost like you. Like I trust you more so than a lot of people, even though you're saying like, this is not legal advice, but you are a lawyer. So Immigrants Rising has that same founding, PhDs, really amazing women that are running the show. So if you have a nuanced issue, like DM us, because we may just be going broadly, because that's the point of our podcast, and because none of us are professionally wanting to give professional advice, but we will likely understand a niche. That'll just mention like school-aged children and the resources available there. And Ceci, you talk a lot about just the overall family, but you do a lot of work with elderly individuals. And then I work with kids that are going to college that might be in the situation, again, mixed status or undocumented. So reach out to us and we will do everything we can to funnel you back to whoever we think makes the most sense. So I wanted to make that little point about Immigrants Rising, that they really are focused on students. And if you're listening to this and you are the person right now that is either trying to go to college or send someone to college and you're uncertain because of your mixed status, I want to remind you that there's a way, that there's people to help you. Like, this is not the time to retreat, even though I know that's easier said than done and you want to hide and not rock the boat and like not be seen right now. There are a lot of services and programs, just like Ceci said. I love that you rattled off that script that is like, I'm not authorized to talk to you. I'm going to talk to my lawyer. I'm going to close up shop. All of that, we're going to empower you. So go to people that you trust, organizations like these, resources like these that are shared, that are credible, and then they will give you the tools to empower you to be very stealth at this time. Still move very strategically, but not hide at a time like this where you probably need the support more than ever. So that's going to be our tip of the day. Come to the folks that you trust, have them help you move in the way that you need to move right now, because you have every right. You have every right to understand these programs and these benefits and to stand up for yourself and to exercise your right in this country. So instead of hiding, which I know we all want to do, let's try to come into the light with people that we trust and resources that are like these.
Yes, definitely. And I wasn't with my nonprofit in the prior Trump administration, but from what I have learned and seen is last time around when this was happening and the mass deportations, apparently there was less than expected because people were becoming informed. Like they were learning about their rights and what to expect and how to act with ICE. So igual, like this is like the reason for us wanting to put the word out there. And like Irene said, if there's a specific niche that you want to kind of like target, or like this is my situation, and we might not be able to answer the question, like we can probably funnel you or refer you to the appropriate organization. And with that, I kind of want to talk about this chart that my colleague is working on or created, and I'm not going to publish it because things are always changing. But as of like when I think Thursday she worked on it, she shared it with me because I told her I was going to be like having this discussion on the podcast. It's in Spanish, so I'm going to like translate it in English as we go along. But basically, is a chart that she created with categories of folks that are at the most risk in under an ICE raid. So she labeled it like high risk, folks that are high risk, folks that are medium risk, and the lowest risk. And when I say risk of actually getting deported. So folks that are at the highest risk are folks that already have a deportation order, or folks that have like missed their immigration court date. 3, folks that have come into the United States after a deportation. Or 4th, that have lived in the United States less than 2 years. So again, I'll repeat that. The folks that are at the highest risk of being deported under an ICE raid is 1, folks that have a deportation order. 2, folks that have missed their court date at immigration court. 3, folks that have come in even after being deported. Or 4th, folks that have been here less than 2 years. So with these folks, what's indicated here is that ICE could immediately deport you. The only reason, or the only way for these folks to not be deported is if they tell ICE that they have a reasonable fear of returning back to their country. And it's very probable that if one of these, folks in these 4 categories are detained, it's very probable that ICE will put you like in a detention center and not allow you, in a detention center, and you might have an opportunity to ask for to be let go if you pay a bond. So that's the highest risk. At the mid risk is 2 categories. It's folks that have been in the U.S. for more than 2 years, and that immigration services, they don't know that you're here, so you're kind of under the radar. Or folks that came in under what's called humanitarian parole, and they have not submitted their asylum applications to United States Customs and Immigration Services. So again, those 2 categories that are at the mid risk are folks that have been here longer than 2 years and that immigration has no idea that you're here. Or folks that came in under humanitarian parole and you have yet to submit your asylum application.
Así que si te viniste a Disneylandia y te quedaste, más vale que te regreses antes de que te saquen.
Yeah. So I think these folks again, mid risk. So what it says here with these two sets of folks is that they have a right to fight their cases in front of a immigration judge before ICE deports you. And if these folks were to be detained, they would get like a hearing in front of an immigration court, but they're so backed that it could even be years before you even face an immigration court at this level, at the mid level. So it could even be like beyond like this administration. So just to put it out there. And the lowest risk are folks that are waiting for their immigration court and that they have like a clear criminal record, like you've never committed a crime, or that you have a pending asylum application and you've never committed a crime. So folks, stay out of like committing crimes, like keep that record clean. Again, these are the folks that are at the lowest risk of being deported if ICE were to detain you. It's folks that are waiting for their next court hearing with immigration and you've never committed a crime, or you have a pending asylum application and you've never committed a crime. So these folks it says here that you can, walk calmly, the streets and, not fear ICE because, it's not until like a judge makes a decision on your pending application for asylum or at your next hearing. So those are kind of like the 3 levels that she explained to me, but she said like, these are changing, but this is as of, where things are at right now.
Dude, it's crazy. We're first generation, but they're even saying like, stripping the rights from having the, ¿cómo se llama?
Birthright
citizenship. Is the level of like worry, right? It just multiplies. Like our parents, yes, have been here. Like my parents are U.S. citizens. If they get them on the street, they're English hablan. They're like, how are we going to defend that? Even though they've done what they needed to do. They worked their years. They learned, to kind of, they had to learn information to become citizens, right? And they made a choice to be like, I'm gonna become a citizen of this country after I've given so much. But then here we come, the next layer, right? It's like, oh man, like how now there's that worry of that. And in my place of work, there, I work with a lot of, I have a team of young guys from the ages of early 20s, and then I have a team of like older people, right, in their late 40s and going into 50s, and some of them, like the younger guys, are like, oh, whatever, we'll figure it out. But there, you can tell that there's a little bit of stress with the kind of the older like population. And they're like, well, I'm going to carry my passport with me no matter what. Or I'm going to carry my little, like, the passport cards. I'm going to have it with me so they know that I'm a citizen and things like that. But I'm like, the fact that people that have no criminal records, the fact that anyone that, is here, in a clear legal status, right, that they have the right to be here and have worked to become citizens, are freaking out too. And that to me is, I hope we can get a handle on that, right? And Ceci, by sharing this, I feel that I hope it does become beneficial to for people to hear this, that there are going to be some people that might want to, the different levels from the high, medium to low risks, but also know that don't panic so that you don't kind of freak out and then get yourself in a situation that it might be more difficult to get out of, right? So I'm glad that you're sharing this because there's fear amongst everyone, los que están aquí undocumented, and then people that have been here, their entire life in a sense.
Yeah. And thank you. You just reminded me of something too, because I don't know if this time around, but in the past for sure, there were U.S. citizens being detained. So if that happens, like you want to lawyer up and it wouldn't be an immigration lawyer in this case, it would be a civil rights attorney because they violated your constitutional rights. So, también, obviously todos tenemos derechos at different levels and different, types of attorneys to talk to. But if that were to happen, if a U.S. citizen gets detained, then, consult with a civil rights attorney because they violated your constitutional rights. So that's kind of like it, as far as like resources and what I wanted to share. And of course, like I said, we're going to share these links and websites on our posts. But I don't know if you guys want to share anything else before we wrap this up.
I would just say, like, this is us just scratching the surface about the ICE raids, but this episode was all about like January and what a crazy January it was, with so many different layers of like life happening. So the fires and the plane crash just occurred in DC, and we have no idea if that's related to the administration, but it feels like there's some sketchy stuff going on there. But also, one thing that we didn't discuss, and maybe we'll bring back to another topic, this is going to turn into a series, surviving an administration change. But, DEI is also being brutally attacked right now. People are losing their jobs, and companies are either standing for DEI or not. So if you are feeling the effects of that, we want to hear from you as well. It's like another form of just sort of going backwards and racist acts. And you may or may not agree with us from that political stance, or me, because I'm the one that said it. I shouldn't say us. But if you are feeling the effects of that, we'd love to hear from you and be a support to you. And we will have a conversation around that as well, because it's all really related. It's like the first layer is immigrant mixed status families. And the next layer is, are you a woman of color? Are you an African-American person, Asian person, just trying to get a job, just trying to have a great job? Did you get an amazing job and now you've been laid off, or now you don't have that job because of the fact that this is happening? So they're all sort of in the same vein, just a different freaking beast. And we want to hear from you and support you. So this was broad. This was about one key topic, but we know there's a lot of different things that are affecting our people. And we would just want to say that Level Up Latina is here for you in the best way we can be. Just as someone personally impacted by this, as 3 first-generation Latinas, as business owners, as the fiercest daughters of immigrant parents, that our lives have been completely changed because our parents were once those people that were fighting for a new life. We are college educated. We are mothers. We are wives. So if you see yourself identified in us, we are here to be your support. And if you see yourself not identified in us and don't agree with our stance and think this is a bunch of hoo-ha, we'd love to hear from you anyway. Like, we'd love to have a wonderful debate, whether online or on this show, because it's good to hear both sides, because we know that we're not everybody's cup of tea. But I just wanted to mention that, like, we may have not covered a lot today, but that's on purpose. We're just wanting to give resources that feel immediate to this month. And also, we may not be covering it in a way that is relevant to you. And we're going to urge you not to turn away, not to stop listening to Level Up Latina. Be encouraged to hear the other side of it, and be encouraged to share your side of it with us, because we're open to hearing other points of views. This just happens to be very much ours. And I wanted to share that before we ended the show.
It's so funny because I was like, let's get into that. Let's get into DEI. Let's get into the human rights and civil rights rollbacks that Trump is doing, because F that guy, FTP. But we have to respect everyone's opinions. Everyone has different ideologies. One thing for me that I have felt this January, before we wrap up, is that we're in for a big freaking surprise. Some of us don't know, some of us do. I think I've had the conversations with people where I'm like, well, you didn't want to vote for Kamala because she was not outspoken on the war in Gaza, and how she was too much of this and not enough of this. And you didn't vote for her, so you chose to vote otherwise. Now we have a president in place, and I'm one of those Americans that it's like it's like, hey, I'm an American. I respect what the majority of the population said. Let's hope for the best for our entire country. I'm not gonna go and whatever. But I also stand firm in what I believe is right, and what civil rights and what is just for our people, for everyone living within the U.S. that have the right to vote and the right to fight for their own well-being and their everything across the board, right? But one thing I have noticed is that things are gonna get a lot more rough for us before they get better. And there's people saying, oh, he's going to remove the income tax. You're going to be richer. Well, what does income tax do? What do they use this money for? Anyway. Point is that for anyone that voted across the board, whether you're red or blue, and you decided to still vote for our current president, that's fine. But also know that you shot yourself in the foot too, because the people, I believe, there's Medicaid involved. There's all these other things that in this conversation we weren't able, like Irene said, to cover, because, a lot of us have older parents. We have older parents. They're going through that, that tercera edad, and they're going through this process of, like, some of us, they're retired. Some of them are retired and they're benefiting from Medicaid and all these things. And now that's something that a lot of our country people rely on this. especially in like red states where they're poorer states. Like what people don't understand is that blue states carry the weight of the red states when they don't have, they don't have the resources. We carry that weight because it's one nation for all, right? So if anything, for everyone, buckle down. It's going to get worse before it gets better. If you think that certain policies are going to be great for you, I really hope it benefits all of us. And stay strong, stay focused on what you need, but also in community because we cannot do things alone. When times get really hard, you want support. You want a community behind you to get through the freaking hard times because times are going to get tough. It might not seem like it, but before it gets better, it's going to get a lot worse.
Thanks, Vero. Yes, no están solos. I mean, if like we said earlier, if you need that support or referral, aquí estamos. If we don't have it necessarily, we can search it for you. And yeah, buckle up. Things are, we're just finding out kind of as the weeks go by. It's gonna be a long 4 years, pero pues aquí estamos and supporting one another, supporting la comunidad, and you should know how to find us. If not, our website is leveluplatina.com. Our email is admin@leveluplatina.com. Our handles on social media, Facebook and Instagram, is at Level Up Latina. So if you want to continue the conversation, DM us. Aquí estamos. If you want to learn more about our one-on-one coaching, our Guilt-Free Squad, shoot us an email or find out all that information on the website. And that is a wrap, ladies. Thank you for entertaining this topic. Qué bueno que estamos aquí, que nos estamos apoyando. So thank you. And thank you for our listeners. So thank you.
Thank you. Stay strong.